Hey everybody, it's Jay here again, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the Duluth Cycle engine-mounted spring-loaded chain tensioner. This video was brought to you by Duluth Cycle as they were kind enough to provide the chain tensioner you see here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the components of this tensioner kit, beginning with the mounting plate. If you look closely, you can see that this is made out of a very high-grade aluminum. In my opinion, that is probably the single most important feature of this tensioner. I'll explain a little more later in the video as to why that's so important. Something else that I'm noticing here is all the holes for the hardware are countersunk, and for those of you with pedal crank arms that sit close to your engine and have clearance issues, this is definitely the chain tensioner you would want to go with. It's really nice to have all that hardware be countersunk. Another feature of the tensioner that I noticed is the bearing in the wheel here is an ABEX 7 bearing, and you can see that right there as I just tried to bring it into focus for you. It is ABEX 7. That's a very good quality bearing and should allow for smooth operation of the chain. I'm going to go ahead and assemble this tensioner and do a little side-by-side comparison to a chain tensioner that I was using for a while on my bike. Very similar in design, but it was actually just a cheap knockoff. And I feel the best way for me to be able to illustrate the differences in quality and craftsmanship between the two is, like I said, to do a side-by-side comparison. So I'm going to go ahead, get this assembled, and we'll pick up from there. Okay, so now that I have the Duluth Cycle tensioner assembled, I'm going to do a brief side-by-side comparison of these two. Now, for those of you who are already familiar with my channel, you've probably seen some of my other videos, and in those videos you would have seen this tensioner here mounted to my engine. That is the cheap knockoff version of the Duluth Cycle tensioner, which you are more than likely going to encounter online when searching for chain tensioners. As you can see here, the connecting holes for the spring with the little red marks next to it are oblong shaped. More specifically, this one is, just because it hasn't been modified yet. I've actually had to do quite a bit of modifications to this tensioner just so that I could use it. Looking here, you can see that I've had to install these bushings just to keep the spring from pulling through the aluminum. Another issue that I ran into as a result of the soft nature of the aluminum is that whenever the tensioner arm itself was under tension, it began to twist inward toward the center of the bike. This in turn made it so that the chain was misaligned with the drive sprocket and also allowed for the guide wheel to begin rubbing against one of the two rear studs on my engine. Now, in looking at the wheel, you can see where the edge of it is all chewed up and gouged. It doesn't look very nice and interfered with smooth operation of the chain. One last thing worth noting, again, is the use of hardware with regard for the countersunk holes. The tensioner on the right does not have countersunk holes and instead utilizes button head screws which protrude about 1/8 of an inch from the mounting plate. Whereas the Duluth Cycle tensioner utilizes tapered flat socket head screws. The additional 1/8 of an inch on the button heads can be problematic on some bikes. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the comparison. let's go ahead and get the Duluth Cycle Tensioner installed on my engine. Alright, so now that I have the tensioner mounted to my engine, my first impressions are that it looks really good and complements my bike very well. Now, something that I noticed before but just forgot to mention is that all of the edges on the mounting plate and arm are all rounded off. It gives it a really clean look, and I believe that that attention to detail is a testament to the quality of the product itself. Now, for those of you who are interested in purchasing this tensioner, just go to duluthcycle.com, and from there you have the option of choosing from a multitude of colors, so you can best match the tensioner to the color theme of your bike. Additionally, you do get a decal for the magneto and clutch cover. Until next time, and as always, I hope you found the video helpful and informative.